Symposium, and thank you for the invitation. And first I would like to tell some words about myself. I'm myself a kidney patient, and my kidney disease was diagnosed in my age 13. The pediatric surgeon told my mother that he doesn't believe that I will reach my age 16. Fortunately, he was wrong. I managed to survive many things, and I kept everything very serious. I kept the doctor's instructions and everything very serious. And that time, I grew up in Hungary, and it was a socialist system. And that time, the doctors did not say a lot for the patients, definitely for the children. And it really frustrated me that they were talking next to my bed in Latin, and I didn't understand a word. But I have 2 brothers and 2 sisters, and my mother was working that time. And we lived 100 kilometers far from the children's hospital, so she was able to visit me just once a week. And there was no telephone that time in Hungary from our village to the hospital. I was myself, and I realized very soon that I have to learn everything, and I have to deal with my disease, have to learn to deal my disease. And I went into the hospital in November. I came as a child, I was 13. And I think I came out in April, in spring, and I was an adult, and 13 years old adult. But after that, I had a successful kidney transplant in '95, and I will tell you more in my presentation, but that's the short history of myself. So I felt that the patient who has diagnosed a disease, it doesn't matter kidney, liver, or heart, but who are waiting for organs, they have lots of restrictions in food, in drink. They have less time because they have to go several treatments, and they have dependency of medication. They have side effects of medication, treatment. They have pain. They have weakness. It is a new lifestyle. It is worse lifestyle, and it's worse quality of life. And mentally and physically, they are also in a worse position. They have tiredness of going to seeing the doctors, and physically, they have anger because why me? They are frustrated. They have fear of the future. They have uncertainty, disappointment, distress, and of course, this causes less efficiency at work. And all of these causes lack of self-confidence. And that time, I was around 16, when I heard the song. It is a Hungarian singer, but it touched me so deep, and I would like to share a part of a song with you. Mit ér, ahhoz hőség kell, ahhoz sivatag kell, hogy lásd, egy napod mennyit ér, néha látnod kell, az élet hogyan fogy el. Ha félsz, hogy ellobban elé, s elvesztem fényét, melegét. It was just a piece of it, but I hope you feel the mood of the song and you understand the message. So I was very young when I have seen it, and I understand. So we patients have to live a very conscious life. We have to keep the diet. I was on protein diet for 16 years. It was very strict, 40 grams of protein per day. But I did it, and I survived it. We have to follow the doctor's instructions. We have to take care of ourselves. We have to stay physically fit. And if we keep all of these things, we have a chance to survive it. Why are sports useful for the patient? Because the mental well-being and the physical condition are interaction each other. And if you are physically fit, your mental well-being is much better. And if your mental well-being is better, you have a better physical condition also. So I called it the Münchhausen effect. After I got back from the hospital, after my transplantation, when I got back to the hospital, I had depression. My operation was not a simple case. I had lots of complications, and I have to be operated afterward 3 times, and I had 4 times rejections. I got lots of cortisons, prednisolone, and it caused lots of side effects. It wasn't me, it wasn't my body. I had hair on my face, on my body, and I had moon face, and I felt it is not me. I was very different, and I must say that I felt worse than when I went on dialysis. And I was lucky because at the hospital I met a girl who joined to the Transplant Games once, and he explained me about the Hungarian Transplant Sport Association. And when I got back home, right away I wrote a letter, and I told that I would like to join to you, because I spent 3 months at the hospital, 4 operations, 4 time rejections. And I thought I would like to see patients who are well and who live a normal life. Because when I went home, during the dialysis, you have a chance to meet the doctors, the nurses, the patients 3 times a week. But after you return home, you are alone. You don't know your body reflex. You don't know what fever means, I spent all my day measuring my fever, measuring my urine, how much I drink, and it frustrated me. And then when I went first to the sports program for the Hungarian Transplant Association, I absolutely changed. It was a 180-degree turn to the opposite side. And I started to do sports, and I call it Münchhausen effect, because with the help of sport, in his picture he is grabbing his hair and pulling himself out of the marsh. But I can tell you that I was pulled myself out from the depression with the help of sport. And why are sports good for us? It gives better physical condition, better well-being, decreases the side effects of the medication, we are more efficient at work, it increases self-confidence, and it gives better quality of life. And why are transplant sports events useful for us? It's a motivation. If you have an event, you have to prepare it. It motivates you to go for a training and don't be lazy. We have the same fate here and share common bond. It helps form a community for the transplant patient. The common activity strengthens fellowship, and it gives new goals in our life. These events also provide information about organ donation and transplantation for the public. Normally the people don't know so much about transplantation, and this kind of events are a good opportunity to let the public know these symbols, the symbols of the green ribbon, the symbols of the transplantation, the donor card, in those countries where are donor card system, to presenting the donor cards, and also give information for the public about the presumed consent, because it's a simply compassionate solution to save life. I don't know how many you are involved in transplant sports before. Hands up, please, because I will just Liz? Okay. Then I would like to give you a short presentation about the history of transplant sports. Look around in the world, just shortly in chronological order. The birth of the transplant sports was in Portsmouth in 1978, when the transplant surgeon Maurice Lapak, organized the first Transplant Olympics. In that time, the organization was that he called his transplant surgeon friends and told them that this event should be organized. And they used this event to giving possibility for the transplant patients to compete and to do sports. And also they used this event to promote organ donation. In this event, 4 countries participated, 3 from Europe and 1 from the US. But it was a great success, and Mr. Maurice Lapak gave, I can say that he is the father of the transplant sport, because in the first picture he is in Portsmouth in 1978, and the last picture is 2 years ago in Krakow, where the previous European Transplant and Dialysis Championships were held, and he was on the opening ceremony and made a speech on the main square of Krakow. So the World Transplant Games was born in England in 1978 in Portsmouth, and the next year was organized also the Transplant Olympics. And then the games went to the American continent, to New York. And after that, it was organized every second year. 1987 was the year when the World Transplant Games Federation was founded. And since then, the WTGF Council coordinates the games. And the last one was last year in Mar del Plata. And Innsbruck is memorable also for the Hungarians because the Hungarian team took part first in Innsbruck because it was so close to our country. And the World Transplant Games had influence from all around the world for the transplant sports. This movement started to spread it, and I will show you what happened in the other continent in chronological order. Australia was the second who started to organize the national games. It's a special situation because Australia is one continent and one country, and they started in Melbourne in 1888, and since then they organize it biannually between the World Games. And the Australian Transplant Games is a whole week event during the school holiday. Participants can compete from other countries, but they can't get medals because the medals take pride at stake. Selection event to compete at the World Transplant Games, and it is also an age-classified event. Unfortunately, I didn't get picture from the Australian Games, but I took this one in Sydney 1997, which was my first Transplant Games, and the opening ceremony was held near the Sydney Opera House. And in the opening ceremony, the participants were sitting on the stairs of the Sydney Opera House. So it really was a memorable event for me. And I think the participants' number reached the 2,000. And 2 years later started the US Games in Indianapolis, where altogether 400 athletes, 1 donor family, and 200 spectators took part in it. But look at the development, such a huge development during the 20 years. The athletes' numbers increased 3 times more than the first one, and the donor family members are 634 and 4,000 spectators. They used the opportunity of the opening ceremony to promote organ donation and sports. And I got these pictures, I copied these pictures from the WTGF journal from 2001, and it is the opening of the Orlando Games in 2000. Sean Elliott, the famous basketball player, led the torch on the opening, and Carl Lewis was also on the podium talking about sports and organ transplantation. And 2010, there was a decision by the National Kidney Foundation to discontinue the games because they were losing money in the organization. And after that, a group of transplant patients decided to continue to organize it, and with a new name, Transplant Games of America, they started to organize it also, but the participants' number is a little bit less than was before. there is no Pan-American Transplant Games, so in which whole American continent can compete together. And then in 1994 came the Winter World Transplant Games. The first games was organized in France, and you can see in my slide that France has been organized 5 times Winter Games. I guess it is because the father of the Winter Games is Olivier Couster, who was the former president of the WTGF. He's French, he's a good skier, and his motivation was to organize it. And Switzerland hosted it twice. Liz is here. He was once the head of the games in Switzerland. And also it was organized in the USA in 1999, which was my first Winter Games, and since then I participated in all of the Winter Games also. The next is the Black Continent, Africa. They have no continent games. Games happened in the 80s, but there were no records about these. And the South African Transplant Association was founded in 1994. And since then, they have been organized national transplant games between the WTG, about 120-40 participants, and occasionally they have some athletes from Namibia. And Tunisia has also national transplant games, but no continent games. And in 2001 was the next formation, the Middle East Transplant Games. Kuwait hosted it. Unfortunately, I have no numbers and figures from this. I had no reply for my email, so I don't know about them, how it works, and no details. The first Asian Games was organized in 2002 in Thailand. Also transplant surgeon Professor Paibul Jitrapai, who was also a WTGF counselor earlier, organized the first one. And as I know, it is organized since every second year between the World Games, but I have no information because I did not get answer to my email. So, and what is the present situation in Europe? At the moment, Europe, there are seated three organizations: the World Transplant Games Federation, which was founded in 1997, and it is organized, coordinate the World Transplant Games, both summer and winter. And we have the European Heart and Lung Transplant Federation, which was founded in 1994, and our organization, the European Transplant and Dialysis Sports Federation. The European and Heart Lung Transplant Games started his career here in Helsinki more than 20 years ago. And the reason to organize the Heart and Lung Transplant Games was, as I know the history, that the heart and lung transplant patients wanted a different category in the World Games. But that time, the WTGF Council did not accept their motion because there are age categories. And to double the categories for the heart and lung transplant, it is impossible to organize the real games and the real competition, as I know the history. So since then, they organized the European Games in these venues, and it is biannually between the World Games just for the heart and lung transplant recipients. And now I would like to show you the history of the European Transplant and Dialysis Games because I am involved in this movement. The first pan-European athletic games for renal patients was in Greece, in Athens. And in 1999, we in Hungary organized the World Games. And I was the member of the local organizing committee. And on the last team managers meeting, when I was so exhausted and I was so tired, two Greek guys came to me and gave me a leaflet. And they told that next year they are going to organize in Athens the games and organize a team for that. And I told them, okay, we will get back later. We have other duties to do. But after, when we finished the games and everything settled down, we started to talk about our team, Dr. Joseph Ray, that how do they think dialyzed patients to do sport, and what do they want with the dialyzed patients? And it was a long discussion, and many of the doctors were really against of the dialyzed sports. But finally we decided, okay, we will organize a group for the Pan-European Athletic Games. And we organized a big team from Hungary, 18 dialyzed patients. And we started to organize their activities a half year before the games. And we organized training for them. And before the games, we organized training camp. And with 2 workout sessions per day. And I will never forget that changing what happened with them during this period. And I will never forget that moment when we delivered them to their national training kit, the training suits, and they put it on. So it was really touching. And we went to Athens with 18 dialyzed patients and more than 60 transplant patients. And the games was organized on the Olympic venues. It is the Olympic Stadium, and there were cultural programs also. And it was a great success, really. So during the games, we have seen the changings, and we have seen the benefit of the games for the dialyzed patients also. And we sat together with the country representatives and were talking about, okay, we should set up a federation and organize games between the World Games in Europe. We are open for all the transplant patients. We have no exclusion. Any transplant patients can join to us. And next year in Budapest in 2001, we founded our federation with 12 countries. At the beginning, the big European countries were against for the dialyzed sports, because it was told that it's not a good message for the organ donation. And they didn't join to us. But now we are 26 member countries. So I'm happy to reach the goal. For the dialyzed and transplant patients, we can organize championships. And then followed in Hungary near the Balaton Aliga, and we had a famous soap opera actor guest. I guess everybody know him, Larry Hagman from the Dallas. He was a liver transplant. And the next games was held in Ljubljana. We increased the numbers of the participants to 320, and 48 dialyzed patients participated in it. And then Pécs come again in Hungary, and followed by Würzburg in Germany. And it was a really good case, because the wife of the head of the games was a dialyzed patient. And she competed in table tennis. And after she finished the competition, she had a cold, and she got a kidney. So it was also a good event for the media during the games. And then came Dublin in 2010, and Zagreb in 2012. And 2 years ago, the games was in Krakow, and the opening ceremony was held on the Krakow main square. And there were more than 10,000 people, because it was a combined event. So the Polish did their best, really. It was an excellent organization. And now we are here in Finland on the 9th European Transplant Sport Championships. And what are the sports benefits for the dialyzed and transplant patients? Now I would like to show you 3 examples, which are all Hungarian, and I am sure that all the participants who are here now, athletes, they have their own story. And they have their, so it would have been made a film or a book or something from the stories, but now I would like to show you 3 Hungarian stories. My first good example is Otto Kovács. He was a lung transplant. Unfortunately, he passed away 3 years ago. But some days before the lung transplant, you can see he's using his final reserve. He's absolutely powerless. He has atrophied muscles, and the nurses support him to be able to walk. And he has oxygen mask. Without them, he wouldn't have been able to live. And 3 years after his transplant, after a good rehabilitation and regular training, he had healthy muscular system, and he looks like a normal, healthy man. So I think this picture speaks itself. These pictures speak themselves. And he is on the Winter Games in France, in Le Chapelle in 2010. My second example is János Szendi. He is another athlete. And he wrote about himself that I had a wonderful life, I was healthy, I was self-confident, I have world-redeeming plan. He was a National League handball player and graduated at the Sports University as a PE teacher, married, had a father of a boy, and 3 years later, in 91, a chronic nephritis was diagnosed, and his creatinine level was 2,100. I don't know who knows what does that mean, but it is more than 20 times more than the normal level. And he went on dialysis, and unfortunately, he did not receive proper information about his prospects, because one of the doctors told him that probably after 5 years dialysis, he will be able to get a kidney, but after that, he has to live a very closed life because of the immunosuppressive therapy. He can't go to the to groups and outside and so on. So he felt that he doesn't want to live such a kind of way, and he felt absolutely helpless, and he planned to commit suicide. And he took it really seriously. He planned everything. He had the date. He had the method. He was lying still at the hospital, but his decision was really very serious. And after that, a transplant patient came into the patient's room, and they were lying together in the room. And he just arrived back from Singapore, from the World Games, and he started to tell him about the transplant sports and the transplant sport movement, and that he will be able to live a normal life. And as he was a sportsman, he changed his mind. And after that, he became the jolly joker athlete of the Hungarian transplant team, because he's very good in lots of sports. In 82, he had a kidney transplant after 8-month dialysis. And first, he participated in Vancouver on the World Transplant Games. And he lost his graft in 2007. But in that time, he was not so desperate. He wasn't so helpless. He knew that he has another chance to get another kidney. And this year, in 2008, he got his second kidney. And he is with us in this week, and so he lives a normal life. And I'm sure that without the World Games and the information of the World Games, he would have been done what he planned. And the third example is, I just called the Mecseki wonder. His name is István Mecseki, and he was a dialyzed patient waiting for kidney and pancreas transplant. And all of these are dialyzed patients in Athens in the Olympic swimming pool. And he did regular training before the first European Games, 10 days training camp before the Games with 2 workout sessions per day. And when we returned from Athens, on the airport, he had a call for transplant. And he has successful simultaneous kidney and pancreas transplant in Page on the day. But during the operation, he had 14 hours deep anesthesia, artificial respiration during the surgical procedure. And because of metabolic disorders, he had sudden cardiac death. Then he had successful resuscitation. His cardiac function recovered spontaneously. And then he lost his cardiac pump function again, and there was a long-lasting 30 minutes life support, and he stayed alive. Due to his physical training history, he had enough physiological reserve to survive it. And 2014 and 15, he had laryngeal cancer, but he had a successful therapy. And he told me that without that training I did during the preparations for the Games, I am sure I wouldn't have been able to survive it. And now here is a picture together with his fellows, transplant companions, who all participated in Transplantation 16 years ago, and they are still here, still live a good life. And two of us are with us. Two of them are with us in the games. So these three examples shows us the benefit of the transplant sports. And we make a patient education program, and our team doctor is always invited. And he gave me this figure to show the risk of cardiovascular mortality. I am not a doctor, but I understand it because he explained it always to the patients, that the risk of the cardiovascular mortality for the end-stage renal disease and before the transplant patients are 15 times more than the normal population. And after the transplant, it falls down till this 3 times, and as decreasing graft function, it's getting to be higher and higher, but after the transplant, it is always goes down. And I got this figure also from him, and it's very complicated, but it shows that how many problems we need to face in case of kidney disease. But patients have to know that the patient's condition with regular sports activity can be improved. And he explains us always that in this period, for us it's necessary to keep organ function in the best possible condition. In this period, we patients need to make preparation for the transplantation, and after transplant, we have to improving our physiological reserve with regular physical activity, because the physiological reserve is one of the key to survive the next transplant if it's needed. We can say thank you for our donors because we got an organ from them. I took this picture in 2005 in Canada when you can see in the green shirt the donors and the donor family members came into the room, to the arena. There were 10,000 people on the opening, and they were celebrated with standing ovation. But I think we could also celebrate our doctors and surgeons and follow-up teams, because they made the operation and they carried out the operation. So thank you for them, because all we got a transplant, we are all winners. I like this picture not just because of a brilliant team doctor in it, but in 2011, the World Transplant Games was organized in Göteborg, and this cup was made for the opening ceremony, and all the names of the participants were engraved in it. 1,500 patients' name on the cup. And the message is that we are transplant patients, all winner. But I would like to use the sports language. To reach the winner position is one thing. We have reached it. But to keep the winner position, it's more difficult. So that's our responsibility. Not just the doctor's responsibility, but also. And my message is that our fate depends at least as much, if not more, on our attitude as about the medical treatments and interventions. And I was happy when I read in the the last issue of the WTGF journal that the mantra of the WTGF, more transplant recipients, more active, more often. This magazine is issued twice a year. Yes, but got all the members of the WTGF country. But I like this message, and I will tell the new transplant patients, I will show them that, look at, this is the mantra of the WTGF, you have to follow it. And finally, I would like to say thank you, Gary Green from USA, Willie Hughes from South Africa, Chris Thomas from Australia, our team physician, Szabolcs Dr. Tóth Szabolcs and Adam Remport from Hungary, from the Semmelweis University, and Rachel Buck from USA, who all provided valuable contributions and comments on this presentation. And as I am a president, I am really would like to be, how can I say, I would like to be, sorry, I forget the word. Authentic, thank you very much, sorry. So I would like to be authentic, to compete on the games every time, because I not just would like to talk, but also show that how we have to live. And sometimes I got some comments from the Paralympics leaders that you are the president, why do you compete on the European heart and on the European Games and the World Games? You are the president of the European Games. Yes, I am, but that's why I do it. I like to do it, and I have to show the example, and I really have to act and have to do what I am talking about. Thank you very much for your attention.